What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JP, and that's right. You already know. You already know. Look at that box right there. Your boy got another first. Your boy got another good one. I think I was the first to bring the Pogo F2 Pro to the US, and I'm pretty sure I was the first to bring the Mi 10 Lite 5G to the US. As far as these little quick review videos go anyways, I'm not saying I was the first to have them in the US, just the first video posted from here. And as you know, that in no way implies that my videos are anywhere near the quality of the ones that do come out. I do want to reiterate that my videos are unedited. I upload these as soon as I'm done recording them. I don't edit anything. Do I know how to edit? I do. Am I as experienced with it? I'm not. But I do have a full-time job and other hobbies, stuff like that. Not saying that the other reviewers don't either, not putting anything past any of the other ones whatsoever. There's a ton of, y'all have heard me talk about ton of these other YouTube reviewers that I have a lot of respect for. And, sadly, some of them don't carry the same respect for me. I've talked to them in their comment section. But that's okay. That's a story for a different day. But I am here with the much talked about, very controversial, in a good way, Redmi 10X 5G. That's right. There's a lot to talk about with this device right here. Let's get down to the specs, okay? This has the MediaTek Dimensity 820 5G chipset. It has a almost 6.6 inch Super AMOLED Full HD Plus display with an always-on display, the always-on feature. It has a 22.5 watt quick charge, I think. One of the differences between the 10X 5G and the 10X Pro 5G, if anyone's wondering, is same chipset, same specs, 6 to 8 gigs of RAM. This is the 8 gig model with 128 gigs of internal storage. One of the differences is the Pro, apart from having a better camera and NFC, also has 30 watt charge. As opposed to the 22.5 watt charge that this phone has, just for reference. Other than that, those are pretty much the differences. The only other difference is in the front-facing camera. The Pro has a 20 megapixel, and this has a 16 megapixel. The standard 10X 5G model here. And of course, back to the rear camera, this has a second generation 48 megapixel lens, whereas the Pro has a 64 megapixel lens. I think the 64 megapixel is from Sony on the Pro. The 48 megapixel on this isn't from Sony or Samsung. It's from another company, OmniVision. That's it, OmniVision. It's a second generation OmniVision, 48 megapixel. I find it to be just as good as the second generation Samsung 48 megapixel lens that's found in the Mi 10 Lite 5G. Honestly, so I really have no complaints. I really don't have a lot of experience myself. I just picked this up from FedEx, but from the samples I've seen, they look about the same. And you're going to hear me compare this phone a lot to the Mi 10 Lite 5G, which was my last video. My last video was on the Mi 10 5G, the Mi 10 Lite 5G, I'm sorry. But what makes this device so controversial, which I'll get to here in a second, I just want you to kind of check the device over. This isn't the global variant, but I do have the Google Play Store installed. The seller I got it from actually did it for me. But I do have a means of doing it myself if I need to. I heard it's pretty easy. I mean, it's nothing I haven't done before. There it is. I had to look for it there for a minute. But yeah, he has all that installed for me. This isn't the global variant. Normally, if it was, you would see a little thing under where it says Redmi 10X. Under that, you would say with the Google apps that you love or whatever the box to the Pogo F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite said. And that's kind of a slap in the face to Huawei, basically. But, of course, they can't put it on this because this is the China ROM one, which it doesn't have the Play Store on it, out of the box anyways. But, it's really cool, though, because I think, honestly, that the Play Store actually still came pre-installed and not by the seller, because this phone was sealed when I got it. It wasn't pre-opened or anything, so I don't know how they did that. But he is a seller that I bought from before. Very fast. It does come from overseas, Hong Kong, but I get it within a couple days. He's just as fast as any U.S. seller. I'd have to find his name and leave it in the description if I'm thinking about it later. But it's the second time I've used him. Very impressed with him. Definitely the fastest overseas shipping I've ever seen. But really, let's kind of give it a view right quick here. This phone is absolutely beautiful, by the way. This thing is stunning. Minus the pop-up camera on the Pogo F2 Pro, between this phone, which is the 10X 5G, the Pogo F2 Pro, and the Mi 10 Lite 5G, this phone is definitely the most beautiful. This thing, and don't even let that gloss fool you. It's not slippery. It's not matte, but it's not slippery either. It's very easy to hold. And trying to get that hair out of there. But yeah, it's sick looking. It is absolutely gorgeous. I wanted the gold model, but I couldn't get it. They didn't have it available yet. If y'all look up Frankie Tech's reviews, he actually raves about the gold model. He has it. I really wish I could have gotten it. But this was my second favorite, the purple. Has that red power button. That's a nice touch. And I really dig that. But the in-display fingerprint sensor on this thing is blazing fast. It's about as fast as the Pogo F2 Pro and faster than the Mi 10 Lite 5G. Why is this phone so hot? I'm going to do a little bit of rambling, so y'all may or may not like this. But, I just want to talk for a bit. Sorry that this was a little shaky here. I'm trying to stabilize myself there. Sorry about that, y'all. But, this phone is controversial because, and I know I keep saying it, I'm sorry for repeating myself. This phone, the Dimensity 820 is just a monster. It's a monster. It is light years ahead of the Snapdragon 765G. Not just the 765, but the gaming-centric 765G, which is the chipset that the Mi 10 Lite 5G has. And that phone and this phone, side by side, are near identical, size-wise. The backs are different, obviously. The backs both have a completely different design. But size-wise, they're if you're looking at them from the front, they're exactly the same. They even both have AMOLED panels. They're both, 6.67 inches to be exact, or 6.57. I'm sorry. I think it's 6.57 because I always round it up to 6.6. The bezels are the same. I noticed that the notch on this phone is actually a little bit smaller than the Mi 10 Lite 5G, but that might just be me. In Frankie Tech's reviews, he also thinks that the bottom bezel on this, the chin, is also smaller than the Mi 10 Lite 5G, but I don't see that. But it does appear that the teardrop notch above is smaller. That I can tell. But the MediaTek 820, it's brand new. It actually came out around the same time that Qualcomm released the Snapdragon 768G processor, which you're going to find in another Redmi phone pretty soon. I think it's going to go into the, what is it called? The Redmi K30, the Redmi K30 5G Speed Edition is what it's called. And that is going to have the Snapdragon 768G. Now, Qualcomm is slated in June this month, obviously, to also announce the Snapdragon 775G processor. It appears that they're pretty nervous right now with MediaTek. it appears they're pretty nervous. Honestly, they're really trying to keep up. The Dimensity 800 was already faster than the 765G. And then the 820 Dimensity that's found in this phone just blows it out of the water. The 820 was already had a significant lead, and then and this already beats the 768G Snapdragon again by a significant margin. I mean, it's not even it's really not even close. I mean, is it flagship level specs? Not quite. You'll get that out of the Dimensity when you start going into the Dimensity 1000L chipset, but the 1000L is about the speed of the Snapdragon 855, and then you had the Dimensity 1000, the standard 1000, that is almost as fast as the 865. They just came out with the Dimensity 1000 Plus, which is faster than the Snapdragon 865. There's rumors of Qualcomm doing a Snapdragon 865 Plus, like they did last year with the 855 Plus. There's rumors that it's not going to happen. There's also rumors that the Asus ROG Phone 3 is going to feature a overclocked Snapdragon 865 that's not going to necessarily be called an 865 Plus, but it's just going to be an overclocked, if you will, 865. They did that 2 years ago with the original ROG phone. It actually had a overclocked Snapdragon 845. It didn't carry a specific name. It didn't have a plus or a pro after this name. It was still a Snapdragon 845. It was just clocked faster. That was it. They called it a speed bind edition or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But MediaTek is definitely applying the pressure. Their chipsets, they lag a little behind the Qualcomm's in terms of the flagship chipsets. But it's not by the Snapdragons don't have a huge lead though. In the upper, when you're comparing the Dimensity 1000 and the Snapdragon 865, the Snapdragons had the lead, but it's not by very much. But when you go into the low end and mid range, the MediaTek chipsets are just blazing faster. I mean, there's a significant speed difference. This chipset alone is clocked at 2.6 gigs. That's unheard of for a mid-range chipset. I mean, just judging off of that, it's easy to be confused that this wouldn't, you're going to question when you see how fast it is, how is this not a flagship processor? And it's not, but how? You're going to question, how is it not? What's the definition of it? And I mean, frankly, the Dimensity 820, really what makes it really not a premium chipset is that it uses last year's cores. It uses Cortex A76s instead of A77s. It may even use A75s, actually. Don't hold me to the A76. But the 5G works here. I have AT&T 5G sub 6, low band, if you will. Right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I got it on the Pogo F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite 5G. It does work here on the Redmi 10X 5G. It's something that you do have to ask. The Pogo F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite 5G both use Qualcomm chipsets, the 865 and the 765G respectively. Being that this runs a MediaTek, the Dimensity 820, a completely different architecture than a Snapdragon, you have to wonder, you have to ask, does this work on 5G like those other Xiaomi phones do? And they do. This also not being a global phone, you have to question its LTE bands, because a lot of Xiaomi's, they brand it as Redmi, but let's be honest, it's Xiaomi. Just like Pogo is Xiaomi. And you hear me talk in my videos a lot of times about their non-global phones missing band 2. But some of their non-global phones do have band 2. It just depends. This one actually has all of the same LTE bands that the Pogo F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite global phones had. Even though this is non-global, it does have band 2 for AT&T, for example. It doesn't have 66 and 71 for T-Mobile. Go figure. That's usually the case with a lot of these. I know some videos say that 66 and 71 are not relied on as heavily, but actually, I beg to differ. In my area here in Shreveport, T-Mobile band 66 is heavily used for LTE. Heavily used. So, yeah, if a phone doesn't have band 66, I'm gonna be relying on 2 and 4 for T-Mobile LTE, which isn't that great. So it is hit or miss, more so with T-Mobile. And it does get complicated. It's really weird because these phones actually seem to have, they seem to be more open. They seem to have more open compatibility with 5G than LTE 4G. And I don't really know why that is. I don't know how true that is either. You know, that might just be a me thing. I might just be getting lucky with all these phones working on my 5G with AT&T. We did just get AT&T 5G here in Shreveport back in April 25th or 24th, if I'm not mistaken. It was around the time it was just before I had gotten the Red Magic 5G, and I did my review on that phone. But you know, is this phone as fast as the Pogo F2 Pro? It's not. Is it faster than the Mi 10 Lite 5G? Absolutely, absolutely, and I won't even say that loosely. This phone even has an AMOLED screen. That would be a reason to maybe choose the Mi 10 Lite 5G over this if this phone right here didn't have an AMOLED screen. Because a lot of Redmi phones don't accept the Pro, like the K30 Pro 5G has an AMOLED screen. The K20s did last year, both of them, the K20 and K20 Pro, but this year the non-Pro K30s don't have AMOLED screens. The K30 and K30 5G don't. The upcoming K30 5G Speed Edition with the Snapdragon 768G I was just talking about, I don't think that does either. I could be wrong though. But this is the first non-flagship K Series Pro, I guess I would say, phone from Redmi that doesn't, that does have an AMOLED screen. I mean, so it's pretty great. I mean, it's awesome. It's definitely a fingerprint magnet, but like I said, it's not slippery, and the phone is just absolutely beautiful, man. I mean, it flies. It flies. And another thing there too. Another thing worth mentioning is that this actually has a triple camera. The Pro, the 10X 5G Pro has quad cameras. I did want to mention that. I actually didn't know that when I bought this phone until I was reading something about it last night. So it just, but from all of the reviews I've seen, it's not really worth the price difference. This is the best value for bang. This is the best, how do they say it? Spec to price ratio that you can buy right now. This phone is under $300. I did pay more than that, obviously. It just came out. Sellers are gonna upcharge it to get what they can out of it since it just came out. You're also importing it. That's always gonna cost more as well. But I'm already seeing prices for the Pogo F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite 5G fall significantly now that they've been out. That's exactly what's going to happen to this phone. And this phone cost me less than those other two phones did right at launch, too. That's also worth mentioning. So that should tell you that when the price on this starts to drop, it's going to be lower than those phones already are. And there's no phone that's going to come out, in the U.S. That's going to match this phone's price, let alone its power. We're fixing to get a slew of Snapdragon 765G powered 5G mid-range phones coming out. Samsung, Motorola, Nokia, TCL, they all got Snapdragon 765G powered 5G devices fixing to hit the market here in the US over the summer. But they're phones that are going to cost the lowest maybe $400. The TCL and CoolPad maybe $400. But I wouldn't bet on it. They also don't have AMOLED screens. And the ones that do have AMOLED screens are going to cost $600, like the A71 5G, for example, that's fixing to come out from Samsung. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You're not gonna. I mean, even if you can get a 5G phone at this price point for under $300 here in the US by the end of the year maybe, and I still don't see it. It's not going to have an AMOLED screen. This is AMOLED, and also again, it's going to have the Snapdragon 765. I guarantee it's not even going to cost less than $400, let alone $300. That's a dream. But and hey, I hope I am wrong. I want to be proven wrong. Stuff like that. Abso-freaking-lutely. Prove me wrong. Android OEMs, prove me wrong, please, I'm begging you. But even with the Snapdragon 765, it's not going to compete with this phone's power. The Dimensity 820 is a freaking monster. You're basically getting almost last year's flagship power with 5G. Because most Snapdragon 855 and 855 plus powered phones last year didn't have 5G. It was an add-on. So, unless you had gotten the OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren, like what I had. And this phone here is just unbeatable right now at this price point. Another thing I want to mention, that the Poco F2 Pro and the Mi 10 Lite 5G both lack, that this phone also has, that has me very excited. It's not always I talk about this a lot, it's not a deal breaker, but it is somewhat important to me still. And it is micro SD card slot. This has a micro SD card slot. That's important to me. And the Poco F2 Pro doesn't, and the Mi 10 Lite 5G doesn't. Now, while I'm talking about it, does this have a headphone jack? Boom! It does, because I know to a lot of people that's important. And it has it. Right next to your speaker and your Type-C. And it has your IR blaster there, if I'm not mistaken. And, is that an IR blaster? Hold on, y'all. Give me a second here. Yeah, it is. It is. Yep. That's an IR blaster. It sure is. But, yeah. Sorry this video is so long, y'all. Just had to get a few things out. This fingerprint sensor is blazing fast, by the way. I kind of feel like it's faster than the Poco F2 Pro, to be honest. But MediaTek killed it with the Dimensity 820. Xiaomi/Redmi, whatever company you want to call them by, they killed it with this phone. The price per spec ratio is just unfreaking believable on this phone. It can't, there's no matching it. There's no matching it whatsoever. I highly recommend this phone. Even at its price point, I mean, it's right now it's about $360. $360 is about the same price that you can get the Mi 10 Lite 5G for. And I don't see why you would choose that over this phone. There's no question. They look almost exactly the same, especially from the front. They do look the same. Same freaking screen. Cameras are about the same, honestly. The charging speeds are the same. No wireless charging. But of course, here with the non-Pro, you don't get NFC. With the Redmi 10X 5G, you do get NFC. I switch phones too much for that to be of any importance to me. I like to use it, but I can't. But I mean, you're not gonna get this level of specs, for less than $500. And here you have it for what will in the next month be $300, if not less. You can actually already get this phone for less than $300, but it's going to be from Chinese sellers, and it's going to take you a good 3 to 4 weeks to get it in. But hey, if you're patient, hey, go for it, man. I'm not mad at you, man. Hit that button, man. Get it. I recommend this phone. It is hot, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Glad I was able to bring this to y'all. Sorry I rambled. I talked fast to make it as short as possible, so don't be mad at me for talking too fast either. I can't do both. I try, but I hope y'all really enjoyed this video. I was happy to bring it to y'all. Peace.